bank. Window down, yelling out money, anything. Ayy, ooh, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when I'm get to the back. Ayy, got the foot on the gas. Pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast. Ayy, ayy, let them all cross. If they hate, then let them hate and make a bigger boss. Ayy.
This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Monday, everybody. I got a very special guest for you guys here today. Obviously, AI is everywhere. If you've been to any freight show this year, you've heard probably a lot of it. But one thing I love about today's guest is he's almost like an anti-AI guy, because like he'll just tell you the truth about where things are. And I always love having him on the show to really break down this and but most importantly, like, where do you start? How do you even train it and stuff like that? So I got my man Dhruv with Drumkit back on the show. Dhruv, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Chris, always so good to see you. Thanks so much for having me.
No, man, I appreciate you taking the time. I mean, I know you just got nominated or awarded something here pretty big, right? Wasn't it a little 30 under 30 that I saw?
Yeah. This is just last week. It was the Forbes 30 under 30 for the transportation category, as you'd imagine.
Let's go. Congratulations on that, man. That's awesome.
Thank you so much. It was totally out of the blue, so I really appreciate the recognition. It's very cool.
No, man, you deserve it, right? Like I was telling you before we got on the show, I've had you on in the past, and I remember our first conversation we had out in Jacksonville at TIA Technovations a couple of years back. And dude, you blew me away about how honest you were about like where AI is, but like how it's not like the end all be all per se, right? Like it's a great product. It, like the vision's clear, as you were saying before we got on, but like we got to be honest, like with where it actually is compared to like where it's being sold as where it is.
Oh yeah, there's a pretty substantial gap between the vision of what's possible and what you can do with what's in your hands today. And look, I think that's true about Drumkit. I think that's true about not just our competitors, but rather in other industries too. I mean, like there are very few spaces right now where fully end-to-end agentic automated AI is, being used every day. There's a lot of human intervention, or there's a lot of upfront training that has to go into all of that. And look, I actually think that's a good thing. You should be cautious about automating your job end to end, right? Because at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to be responsible for and held accountable for the actions that your agentic AI takes. You can't just go ahead and say Skynet made these decisions for me. It's your job. You're the one who's supposed to be doing it.
No, I agree with that, man. And I think like that's just one thing where, when it comes to automation or even, a lot of like technology that's out there, it's sold a really phenomenal way, right? Like but like at the end of the day, I look at it like from a practicality standpoint, because like I use ChatGPT and Grok just like everybody does out there. But, some of those gaping holes that I've noticed out there is it's like, why do I have to tell you the exact same prompt every single time I asked you that. And then why do I have to go through that list of like, hey, this is what we decided, right? It's like, I thought that's where, so it's like, it's those little things like that where, again, it's like, if you're going to be using any LLM product that's out there, you have to like be willing to work with it, because like it is going to be prone to making those mistakes.
Yeah, 100%. You get the same question asked, you ask the same question 10 times, you get 10 different responses. There's a really substantive element to the self-learning and the memory optimization that goes behind some of these AI tools. But at the end of the day, you make decisions as a person, not based on some prompt that's given to you. You're not a wind-up toy, right? Yeah. It's based on a bunch of experience, a bunch of information. You're looking at, if you're in logistics, right, you're looking at a TMS, you're looking at your email, you're looking at a pricing tool, whatever it is, right? And you're making a consolidated decision based on all of that, plus your experience, your intuition. And I think that's where AI is really good at faking intuition and making it seem like, oh yeah, you know what? Based on the data I've seen, this is what I think the best answer is. But just because it's saying it as a person would write, doesn't mean it's thinking that way as well. And so, making sure that you give it all of that, like it's plugged into all of your tools, but also you are making sure to gut check its suggestions. That's really critical.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, that's a great kind of leading question when you're talking about gut checking that thing. How many people are you speaking with where, or what you're seeing out there? It's like people are signing up for it because it's the next greatest thing. And do you think they're even aware of how they're going to implement it into their operations, or they're like, it's AI, we got to have it, buy it, put it in, and then it kind of like, do you feel like that? It also breeds buyer's remorse at that point?
I think in our customer base, we have basically 3 categories of people. You've got your, hey, like this is the hype next thing. I saw the CH Robinson report. They're saving all this money on AI. I got to do it too. Or my board, or like the private equity investor. Someone is like, what's your AI plan? Shit, I got to figure that out. Okay. And there's people jumping in. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think you want to like evaluate and understand all the new technologies. You want to be at the cutting edge. But that comes with like, you have to understand the expectations and set the bar somewhere, right? Yeah. If you're expecting magic, for some things you might get that, and in many ways you might not. There's a second category of sophisticated folks who've gone through that journey. They've understood, okay, here's what my expectations should be. Here's what's possible. Here's what's not possible. And they're very sophisticated buyers. And so they understand, okay, I've tried this other vendor, or I've tried building this on my own, or, I watched a bunch of videos trying to understand whatever it is, right? And they understand, okay, I'm looking for an AI solution that does load building, but, I still want the quoting process to be in my hands. Chris, that's what you were saying to me earlier, right? That I still want to be able to intervene on this step, but this back office operational thing, maybe it's appointment scheduling, maybe it's POD collection. I don't want to deal with that. Great. Understood. You get the scope, what success looks like, and you also know what failure looks like, and you can evaluate whether you purchase the product or not, specifically based on what value you think you'll get from it. And then there's a third category, which is, I don't want any of this. And but if you can prove that it'll save me some time just on the merits of it being a workflow automation product, then I might be interested. It's not that I want AI, or it's that I want to do this or that. It's just like, I don't want to deal with, I don't want to deal with the hype. I don't want to deal with a new technology. I just want to solve this particular problem, and I want it to work. And I think, and personally, I think if you're in one of those latter 2 categories, the odds that you'll have buyer's remorse, as you said, are a lot lower because you know what to expect. You know what to understand. And more importantly, if you're in that first category and you're just thinking about the vision, the magic, then you're also you're more susceptible to being lied to by someone like me, like a vendor who's trying to say, yeah, we can do that, we can do that, we can do that, we can do that, because you're backed by VC money, you're backed by optimism.
Yeah.
it's just you keep changing, you keep raising the bar based on what you see on LinkedIn, and so LinkedIn or Twitter or YouTube or whatever. So I think it's just it's one of those things where the sexiness of the demo, you can't be swayed too much by that. You really have to evaluate, all right, where is this going to solve a problem in my business? AI itself is not some sort of panacea or magic silver bullet. It's the workflow around it, and then AI can enable unique workflows.
Do you think, I like what's the difference? Because I know that you see a lot of AI dialers out there, right? On like the carrier rep side, the sales dialers, all of that stuff. How is that different from like what you guys are building? Because I feel like there's like multiple classifications of AI products that are currently out there inside of transportation. And I feel like they're kind of all being lumped into the exact same category. But from what I see, there's some very major differences between each of them.
Yeah. The running joke is that like everyone and their mother is AI now, right?
Yeah. I'm throwing that. Just
no, I mean it's real, right? Like you're so right. Like everyone claims to be AI, even if what they're doing is just like a workflow automation.
Yeah.
We don't do. There's a few different categories of AI. There's like generative AI. There's just machine learning. There's just data science. There's agentic decision-based AI. There's you could call it as like data extraction. All of these are different categories. They're all useful in different ways. A lot of the AI dialers that you're talking about, the voice companies, Drumkit really doesn't do any voice AI. On purpose, we think it's a really hard problem, and we'd rather let someone who knows how to do it solve it. They're really interesting in that you're basically taking an entire category of tasks and you're setting them aside, right? Either it's folks inbounding you or you outbounding others, and in those cases, you're trying to communicate to the other person that, hey, you're not talking to an AI, you're talking to a human, and you can have a completely conversational back and forth with that person on the other side. I think my hesitation is always, when do you hit the wall? At what point do you hit the wall of, hey, I don't know, maybe someone calls your number and they say, I got into an accident, or they have some dispute on payments. How fast do you escalate that up to an actual human who can then like take that conversation with empathy and understanding, as opposed to just like following the steps or following the rules? Those are my real hesitations. And then there's always like the anti-spam regulation that's still, really being, it's all muddy and gray right now, right? But how many times have you gotten AI calls from a scammer, or for someone asking you to vote or donate or something? And it's the same thing on the carrier side, right? Like at the end of the day, you have to decide as a broker or as a carrier, what's the interaction you want to have with the end user? Are you trying to build trust with them? Are you trying to build a relationship with them? Or flip side, and the positive side is, hey, I'm trying to just triage quickly all the little things I don't want to have to deal with. When they need to speak to a human, they can speak to a human. And that's fine. Yeah.
Because I look at it is at what point, and this is just mainly from like a business development perspective here, if you're looking at an AI cold caller to go out there and like do new business development for you, how long do you think it's going to be until like all of these manufacturers and shippers and really every business in the United States has an AI bot answering those calls, and then it's just bot to bot talking back to each other? There's no actual progress being made, right? Like that's where I see it with a lot of that. I see it like it's only probably 24 months away. That's a bold prediction on my part. I feel like within 24 months, that's going to be the reality. And then there's going to be a complete stoppage in any progress that's out there. And then we're going to have to break out caveman era stuff where you go out and knock on a door and show, hey guys, I'm real.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the reason for why TikTok and Instagram and all of that really took off is because all of our media became so polished. Even on YouTube, you go to YouTube, everyone's got like the fancy DSLRs and fancy editing and all of that. TikTok, like you have a little bit of that, but not really, right? Like it's just people posting themselves. Twitter is just people posting themselves. That's why Twitter won't die, right? As a social media. that's the thing. Like as people, even in a professional context, we crave authenticity. We crave wanting to be surrounded by actual people. And I think when you have AI talking to AI, like one of two things can happen. Either that entire transaction becomes like an API transaction where that part becomes so efficient that it's as if like it's one click and done and you don't need to think about it. Or it could go the other way, that AI starts making decisions that you didn't agree to or don't understand, like negotiation decisions, for example, or timing or whatever it is. And now you're stuck. And now you have to rip and replace because you were going for an efficiency gain, but you don't have any way to intervene or understand what's going on in that conversation. That's why that's another reason for why at Drumkit we chose to sidestep the voice side. Not that it's not useful, but because we don't trust your ability to intervene. If you send a text message through Drumkit or an email through Drumkit, I can always jump in, I can always finagle my way to save that conversation. If someone agrees to something on the phone, you don't even know it happened until after.
Have you, like, what you guys have been at this for a while now, Dhruv? What's one consistent area that you've seen where this is where most brokers are going to benefit from automation, or like through your guys' customers? Like, have you guys identified, is there like a one part of all of their businesses where they've all kind of started at the same point?
Yeah. I'd say that there are three functions that I think are like the most obvious for automation. And this is not in any particular order. I think it's different for different people. The first is load billing and order entry. That one's just, nobody likes doing it. And how error prone it is. Like, hey, I just missed a number or, had an issue. That's where AI and tools like that are just immensely useful. I will say it can be hard to initially train the AI to get it set up. Everybody does things differently. All tenders come in totally differently. Everybody treats their TMS data totally differently. Someone on TIE TMS or Turbo TMS or Revenova could be using Revenova, TIE, and Turbo dramatically different from the next person. But as soon as you get into that right flow and you figure out that implementation part, man, it saves people so much headache. I think the other two are on that quoting and scheduling side. On quoting, I particularly like this use case because people aren't aware of how much opportunity they're not responding to in their inbox. So you might be running a perfectly great business and might not be responding to 60 to 70% of what's coming in your inbox. Some of that you're choosing not to respond on purpose. Maybe, okay, you don't cover, I don't know, the Southwest United States. You don't have great partners there. Great, no problem, right? Whatever. But some of that could just be you missed it because you're busy on the phone dealing with something else. And that's where I think, we've got a user. He was already one of the top brokers at this brokerage. He doubled his monthly take home because he was just in the morning able to plow through, all the requests that he was getting. And it's not like he had new customers or anything like that. It's the same folks sending him the same stuff. He was just getting to it way faster. And then appointment scheduling is another one of those things where, again, nobody wants to do it. Being fast is really helpful. And just being able to say, here's my parameters, schedule it for me. That's really what you need.
Yeah, because like to me, everything that you're describing right there is like speed wins, and you're like at the end of the day, I don't care what phase of relationship you are at with your customer. I don't know of any shipper out there that wants to get their rates slower, their updates slower, their load scheduled slower. You know what I mean? And it's just that as a human being, this is something I'm having a hard time accepting, but I've accepted the fact that this phase of my life, I cannot do everything. All right. Yeah. I need help. I need areas to improve that. And, again, if you're out there and you're building a book of business of any sort, we go through this daily. Multiple requests all come in at the same time from multiple customers. You can only do so much with that. Mm-hmm. And this is why it's like, I look at with what you guys have developed out here, like it's so invaluable to the majority of brokers' operations. I see it where, not every shipper out there has EDI. or will have API. Not every shipper out there has an RFP, and like that, the enterprise freight is what kind of gets all the attention out there. But it's like, that's such a small likelihood that that's the majority of your business. Not saying that that's that for everybody, but if you're out there organically building your book of business, you're going to start off with that small to mid-sized market. Or you know what, maybe you've worked with the larger shippers that I have early on in my career. And I'm more like, I actually enjoy working with the small to mid-sized guys a little bit more, just because like, I kind of like talking to people on the phone still. I know that, heaven forbid, but like, I like talking to people. And it's like, it's finding that product that fits into what your customers are requiring. And I feel like that's another area or a hurdle that a lot of AI companies might have to face coming up here. And I'd love to get your take on this, man. If your shipper and your carrier aren't really requesting it, like where can you implement it inside of your business where like it doesn't have an adverse effect to your business, where all of a sudden your customer's getting an AI response and they're like, what the hell is this? I don't want this.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why you have to be really thoughtful about where are your actual bottlenecks and how is this going to actually impact the rest of your business. We like to joke about the drums method. We're called Drumkit. It's a fun pun. It's just the idea that like, as you think about evaluation, start by defining like what you're actually looking for, right? Yeah. Think about the actual results, like look at understand your actual data sets and what that's actually going to mean, your team's concerns, what's the impact going to be, look at the metrics, and see how you can actually measure that success, and then scale once you get to the point of feeling like, okay, cool, like this works, I understand this. But people really get caught up in that. I think, unfortunately, people really get caught up in that middle step, which is understanding their team's concerns and understanding the impact that it'll have on their business. I think most folks will skip that because they're thinking, hey, I just want to move faster. But your team, as a leader, your team is the one that is the one on the, they're the ones that are on the phone. They're the ones that are talking to the customers. They're the ones that are understanding the actual day-to-day time savings, where their time goes. And it really makes a substantial impact on your team's like capacity to execute if they feel like they're pulled out of the loop on certain tasks. And so where I think the easiest places to slot AI is where folks are doing tasks they don't want to do in the first place, and things that don't actually touch customers. Load building is a great example of that. Appointment scheduling, of course, has a customer interaction, but you're 9 times out of 10, you're not even talking to someone anymore, right? You're using some sort of scheduling portal. Great, that's fine. Like I can do that. And if something goes wrong, I can quickly reschedule it. Maybe I do that manually. That's fine, right? And so those are two places where I feel like it's safe to start. Track and trace starts to get a little bit hairy, unless you have a good exception management process, which some folks do. And then quoting is one of those where, if you feel comfortable with the tool that you're using, then it's totally okay, I think, to automate it fully end to end and flip that switch and just throw numbers out there. But once you put a number out there, you can't take it back. And so that's where I think getting comfortable with that tool up front, going through that human in the loop process, walking through it, and then feeling comfortable. That's how you got to go.
Do you think a lot of people, again, they try and automate too much too soon? And you've seen like, I don't want to say failure with it, but it's like, I look at it because I know a lot of the companies out there, like, you use Robinson early on and everybody sees the massive results, but like Robinson also has been around for, 100+ years. They're the largest freight broker in North America. They probably move the most freight by volume, I would assume, out there as well. So their KPIs and their success probably looks a lot different than a lot of the people that are out there and like where it is. And I just look at it as, I like that small digestible bites. Like if you're going to do anything, if you're going to automate anything, start with one area of your business. And then once you're comfortable with that, add on to that, because like I talk about, like, I was like anti-CRM for the longest time. I really was. I was like, oh, I don't see the value in it. And then I was talking to a buddy of mine who's built a very successful freight brokerage and trucking company. And he's like, dude, you have to start using one. He's like, you're too busy now. This is going to add a ton of value to your business. And now we started with that. And then again, I had to look at it from a workflow perspective, Dhruv. I'm like, all right, I actually got to like tone it down a little bit to make sure I'm using the technology properly for what it's there for. And I think like that's another thing where people look at tech, they look at AI or other automation tools, and then they're like, they don't actually work with the tool. They think that the tool is just going to do all their work for them. And then it's like, then you inevitably build that resistance of like, why are we even using this? Because, or why are we paying for this if nobody's using it? Where it's like, I'd like it at the small digestible bites aspect of it. I got to start in one area, make sure I'm using it properly, then add on more, then add a little bit more steps to that. So again, we're doing it the right way, as opposed to just going from no automation to 100% automated. And then all of a sudden everything is just a clusterfuck.
Yeah. I mean, I think you physically cannot do that. I think you just can't unless you start ground up, right? So like if you're starting a brand new brokerage and you say, okay, I'm going to do everything AI native. Okay, sure. Like I get that. Like, but the hard part and the reason why you would go one by one is because change management sucks. Like you can't just go one day and say, this is the new plan, do it, right? Like you have to ease people into understanding, here's why you're doing it. Here's the value that you should expect to get. And I need you to tell me, by the way, if you're not getting that value.
Yeah.
Like, and if you're doing it for yourself, you should have that iterative process of, wait a second, like this isn't what I expected. Look at Drumkit, I'll just be upfront, right? Like at Drumkit, we have had failures. We have gone to customers and like hoped to give them a great experience and just didn't. It happens. And I think a real evaluation of whether a partner's, real evaluation is whether a partner is great to work with is, do they give you that feedback? Do they work with you? Do they want to iterate with you? And then how do you recover from that? Do you improve the experience for them? Or do you just say, look, this is what it is. I'm sorry, I can't do anything more. Right? Like, and that evaluation, especially in this nascent stage of where all the tools are, that's, I think, the true sign of, is this a vendor I want to work with? Is this a partner I want to keep working with?
Where are we going with this? Do you think like, and this isn't necessarily a transportation specific question here. This is just more of like a societal one. Where do you think this is going? Do you think it's going to, we're going to over automate everything? Do you think it's going to blow up? Where are your thoughts with this?
Yeah, it's a great question. Let me start with the transportation side and then we go to societal. Yeah. I think the transportation side, relationships will become more and more of a premium. The time spent with you, Chris, or with me, that's unique and it'll have more and more value. The same way that we saw authentic TikToks take off over something like Quibi, if you remember that, like the highly produced shorts, right? Like that's and I think that's just the reality of it. I think like people want to be with other people, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to automate a lot of the bullshit away. That you and I don't have to do data entry anymore. That you and I don't have to deal with plugging in numbers to get some like weird outcome anymore. That we can just focus on, hey, I like working with you. I trust you. I'm going to get this on your truck and let me know if there are any problems. Like that's what I'm looking for. The ideal vision, right, is that like a small group of people can run $100 million brokerage. But I don't think we're exactly there yet. I think there's still, a bit of technology that needs to happen before we get there. But the goal is that it's like the internet, right? Or it's like, the smartphone, where it's not an iterative technology, where it becomes, I can just say something and it happens. That's the intent. And I really think that's going to happen. I personally believe, I don't want to take this so extreme that like, oh, AI is going to cause us to be in the Star Trek future of post-scarcity and all of that. But this is the first step towards that. This is the first step towards, I don't have to do the manual like labor anymore. I get to focus on actually using my brain. I don't have to worry about, okay, how do I optimize this spreadsheet anymore? That's a task that can be done for me. Computers are much better at tasks. Humans can deal with decisions. People can deal with people problems. Computers can deal with computer problems. And that's the dream.
Do you think that, again, as this flew by, I knew it was going to, man, but like, do you think that people need to maybe tether their expectations a little bit more with where AI is as a whole, and more of like, hey, we have to learn how to work with it more, and that has to be our approach is how do we work with it as opposed to how do we give it everything? And then do you think that could lead to like a catastrophic failure? I'm not saying AI is a fad, but like, I know human beings are inherently lazy, and if there's a way to offload a bunch of shit, they're going to look for that. Do you think that that's a greater risk to the overall adoption of AI than as opposed to like, how do we figure out how to work with it the right way?
Oh yeah. The vision is there, right? Like that's what we've been talking about, but 100%, like any big change, you got to take it incrementally, right? Like I think it's really important for you to understand what is the actual exact workflow this is going to enable? How is it going to impact my business? And how do I use it day to day? What are the metrics? Is this going to save me time? Because I think people don't think about that enough. The vision is so cool. It's so sexy. Like, oh, I got AI in my business. You just like, you can't screw yourself over with like massive expectations, and if that were the case, you gotta pay your vendor the same amount you're paying a person. Yeah. So it doesn't work that way.
Dude, I agree with that, man. Dhruv, thank you so much for your time today. How does anybody reach out to you guys in Drumkit if they want to find out more?
Yeah, just reach out to us at drumkit.ai or hi@drumkit.ai. Chris, such a pleasure. It's always so great to talk to you.
No, man, I appreciate you joining me. That's going to be it for today, though, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys can't find Dhruv or Drumkit out there, hit me up. I will gladly put you guys in direct contact with them. But that's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. And if you're feeling ambitious, rank it on iTunes and Spotify, because if you saw value, your network's going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.
Came back with a bang, window down, yelling out money, anything. Hey, ooh, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when I'm getting to the back. Hey, got the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal when the lane moving fast.